There we go. Hello. Good morning. How's it going? How are you guys today? Ooh, gotta switch my mic over. As always. There we go. Now you guys should hear me better. Hello. Good morning. Looking for my lighter so I can light some Palo Santo. Good morning, Adriana. Hi, Kale. How are you? You guys well? Just looking for my bloody lighter. What did I do with it? Oh, it's behind the laptop. Good morning. Hey. Hi, Erin. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Katya. Hi, Brandy. Hi, Ralph. Or Karen, I should say. Hi, Karen. Good morning. How is everyone? Did you guys have a good weekend? Just lighting some Palo Santo really quick. If I can with this fan going. It's warm. That's why I've got the fan going today. You guys got lots of warmth where you are. It's getting hot already and it's only 10 o'clock. I was just out in the garden puttering around. I get to mow my lawn today. Yay! The joys of adulting. What did you guys do this weekend? Good morning, Anna. Hi, Miriam. Hi, Elaine. Welcome, welcome. That was amazing, wasn't it? The Chen. For those of you who missed it, you guys got to check out that Chen event from yesterday. Katie did an amazing job setting that up. And it was very effective. One of my friends told me today that she got a clearing from it. She could tell she had something attached, and when she watched the video, it was gone afterwards. She could feel it being removed. So if you guys feel that you need a clearing today, make sure that you go back and watch the replay. Oh, it's been raining and storming all weekend, Brandy. Well, I hope it means you're going to get lots of flowers and lots of greenery coming your way soon. Nikki says it's always chemtrail o'clock in Scotland. You guys don't get enough sun as it is. It's bad enough for them to be messing with you, taking out all your nice clear sky. You had to lie down yesterday from the clearing, huh? Did you feel tired afterward? Good morning, Jordan. How's it going? Nice to see you. Hi, Chandrika. I had a very exciting weekend. It was interesting, to say the least. I'll tell you guys a little bit about it in a minute. I had an event this weekend. It was interesting. Have you guys seen the new Cosmic Agency video that was released this morning? I shared it this morning, but it was about the Engen, which is another race from the Pleiades, a different type of Pleiadian. Keep in mind that Pleiades is a massive place. Okay, it's a huge system of planets, and actually, no, it's not even just a system of planets. It's the whole solar system. There's a whole lot of stars in there and a whole bunch of different stuff. Space Vikings, exactly, Michelle. Good morning. Nice to see you, honey. Hi, Ray. Hi, Shakti. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Jacob. Hi, David. So yeah, I really enjoyed that Cosmic Agency video. If you guys haven't seen it yet this morning, make sure you do. They were talking about the Greek, Roman, and Nordic deities. As many of you probably already know, I've been talking about them for quite a while now. They're not from the same place that the Taygetians are from. Taygetians are from, well, the Taygeta star system that they have in the Pleiades, but these ones are from, I think their sun is called Electra, if that, yeah, if memory serves me correctly. And there was a lot to go over in that just one short video, considering so much of our ancient history is based on truth, and this is something that I kind of learned more about this weekend. I since there's already 70 something people watching, I may as well just get into it. So I had a little bit of a psychedelic trip this weekend. And whenever I can't give too much detail on it because unfortunately a lot of it was really fucked up. I got a whole bunch of downloads from 3 different past lives that I've had. And I learned over the weekend why people that were in war don't really like to talk about it. Because I don't really want to talk about it myself right now, to be honest. It was fucking awful, the things that I saw. Not all of it was awful, but I did get a much deeper understanding as to why I've been stuck here for 13,000 years. And I'm not going to get into the details of it because, well, maybe I'll do that on my next uncensored talk. But it really does needs a trigger warning. And I don't want somebody who's just going to tune into the podcast to start hearing what I'm talking about and not know about the warnings that should come along with it. So maybe on my next Laura Uncensored podcast on Astara, I'll talk about it. That way you guys can get a warning ahead of time before I start talking about it. But I will go into some of the details about it. And I don't know that much. I'm still unpacking a lot of it. It's kind of like when you're trying to download 3 movies all at once, but your Wi-Fi sucks, so you only got to download like little clips, little bits and pieces of each movie. And now I'm still kind of unpacking what I downloaded, and it was intense, you guys. It was really, really intense. I asked for a glimpse of my past life in Atlantis. That's how I started down the rabbit hole because I wanted to learn more about what I had experienced. And so I wanted some visions from that time. And be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you're looking for because holy shit. It was really, really intense and quite messed up. And that's why I'm not going to talk about it in its entirety today. I'll give you guys the nitty-gritty details another time. But I'll just go into some of the basics about it. So the first experience I had, I think I was a priestess or something. I was working with plants and crystals. And it was like electroculture times 1,000. Like some of the things that we were growing were absolutely massive. Like our apples. We had an apple this big. I remember seeing an apple. It was this big. And we grew it through electroculture, but it was through crystal use, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm pretty sure I was not in Atlantis. I think I was in Lemuria, actually. It looked a lot like Egypt, just from one of the clips I saw, but it was it jumped around from clip to clip, you know, like I was happy and relaxed and working in my garden. And the next thing you know, the skies would go dark and all kinds of craziness starts raining down on us. And it was very similar to, which is crazy, the timing of this, of course, because for those of you who may have seen it, Kitesh, one of my friends that I interviewed a few weeks ago, who's in Australia, she's an Australian hypnotist. And some of the things that she was coming up with in her sessions from some of her clients were very similar to what I was experiencing. But I watched it after, like I had my trip first and then I found her stuff. And I was like, oh my God, this is the same thing. Similar anyway, just with, you know, what they do to people, what the Lizzies have done. And it's not just the Lizzies either, because they have a whole lot of other races that they control through subjugation and abuse and through brainwashing and all the other stuff. So it wasn't just them causing problems. So I was abducted in this dream with several of my sisters, and it was awful. And that's the rest of the part that I'm not going to get into what happened to us. I'll talk about it another time. I am pretty sure Erin Suniva was there, actually. I'm almost positive she was, and same with Kitesh. So I need to talk to Erin about this, actually, because I'm pretty sure she was there with me when all of this chaos was happening. At least I just know it was her. Deep down, I just know it was her. I don't know how I know, I just do. But there was some other stuff that had happened. It kind of jumped around. It's hard to explain. Like, I'm still, like I said, unpacking some of the things that I experienced. And in this other life, I'm pretty sure that I was uh how do I say this without giving too much information, without a trigger warning? I I was a slave, and it was not nice, to put it lightly. And it was crazy because I went through this experience and I got over it. You know what I mean? Like you go and you jump. It's kind of like hypnosis, where you jump from one thing to another when you have these visions. And the third vision I had, and this made me laugh because the second vision had me so upset. This lifetime as a slave was really, really bad. And so the third experience that I had, I think, was meant to be in contrast to that, because I went, uh, you guys are going to laugh. So I went into a past life as an Amazon, and not the South American kind, the Greek kind, where we kind of subjugated men and kept them as slaves too. uh, so I think that was supposed to be in contrast to the other one, where it's kind of like the shoe was on the other foot. Where I went from being a slave till I went to a point where I had slaves myself. So I think I shouldn't even call them slaves, because they had rights to a degree. But yeah, it was definitely a matriarchal society where the women were controlling shit. And so it wasn't like that, Ray. Ray says you were a sex slave master. No, it wasn't exactly like that. It was more they were workers, how women have been treated for a long time is how we kind of treated men at that time. And they were kept separate from us. So, and I asked my guides why they showed me that, and they were like, "Yeah, you gotta know that you've also been in that situation too." And I was like, "Oh, oops, shit." So I found that funny. And it did actually help me get over what happened to me a little bit when I saw that I was doling it out too. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where, sometimes your shoe gets put on the other foot. So I can't go into that too much either, because there could be children watching this right now. You never know. So I'll tell you guys more about that later at another time. But when I say it was intense, it was really intense, you guys. Like, I was so upset, especially after the first visions. Like, they really upset me. The stuff that I saw, what they did to the priestesses of Lemuria, which I'm pretty sure that's what I was one of. It was pretty traumatic. Not gonna lie. I was sobbing for like an hour after that first vision came through. So it was really something. Let me tell you. This is why I say it's be mindful of how much you take, because I might have taken a little more than I should have. But then again, it's just one of those things where we're all just kind of learning as we go. And so I'm still trying to piece together all the things that I had learned through those three visions this weekend. So that's why I was talking. I'm going to have a hypnosis session. I was talking with Katesh about it, and we're going to see what's rolling around in here that we can actually record for everybody to listen to. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, like I said, it was really wild, you guys. I'm not going to lie. And I can tell why there's certain things that, you have buried in your subconscious, and you don't really understand why they are the way they are. And so, yeah, I'll tell you guys more about it later when I can actually get more info from hypnosis, because it's like a movie that you've only downloaded 5% of, and you have little clips of it here and there. And that's basically what I got, was little clips of a movie that I'm still trying to piece together to make sense. That's what it feels like anyway. But even if it is something that's painful, I do feel like it's like putting puzzle pieces together, and you can get a deeper understanding of who you are and why you are the way you are. And what's really funny is I've always been quite tall. And when people comment on how tall I am, because I'm like 5'10", I've always said, "Oh, it's just an Amazon in a past life or something." I was laughing so hard when I remembered telling the people like that, because I apparently was an Amazon in a past life, and I've been making jokes about it for how long? And sure enough, I get it validated. So I thought that was absolutely hilarious. But for those of you who have not seen it, just so you know, there is a recording of a past life that was quite similar to mine. So yeah, that's on my page. It's from Kitesh. If you guys go and look at her wall, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a very similar past life to mine, although different in many ways. Hi, Steph. Steph says, I often feel like I've blocked it all on purpose so I can focus on this life. I'm careful about digging. Well, yeah, that's this is also what I learned. You got to be careful. You can't really choose what you're going to download. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's you're just kind of given what you're given. At least when you're taking psychedelics anyway. And so I did not really, like I said, I just set the intention to see what to understand my role in Atlantean times better. And yeah, I also wanted to understand how I got stuck here in a past life. And I didn't get a vision on that, but I should say I didn't get a past life vision on that. They gave me more visual answers than anything else. It was really weird. Like, I'm pretty sure that I came here to help somebody or to rescue somebody. They showed me sitting in because I was getting visions, right? And when I asked these questions, I would get really vivid, clear visions coming through as my answer. And when I asked, how did I get stuck here on Earth? They showed me a life raft, like a life raft, like a big one that you would get like on a cruise ship or something. And I was sitting in it and I was trying to help people. Like I was calling people over to help, to get them up on the life raft. And then all of a sudden, hundreds of people just started popping up out of the water. And all of a sudden, there was just dozens and dozens and dozens of people climbing over each other to get in my life raft. And then we all just sunk. And I was like, oh no. I was so upset when we were thinking, but I'm like, I don't understand. I don't get it. So then I got another vision come through where I was like in a helicopter, like I was a helicopter pilot. And I was like trying to come in with like refugees. Like there's a whole bunch of refugees coming. And then as I'm yelling at everybody to get on, they all just started piling in as fast as they could. And then I tried to fly off with everybody. And I couldn't lift up, like I couldn't get us up high, and then we all just crashed. And I was like, I don't understand. What are they trying to tell me? So I spoke with a friend yesterday, and I told her all of this, and she said she helped me understand it a little better. And she's like, well, she goes, think about the life raft, okay? I'm like, yeah. She goes, how many people were you actually teaching to swim, or were they all just clinging to you, trying to get you to pull them up? And I was like, good point. So she said, well, you're supposed to be teaching people how to swim. You're not supposed to be trying to drag them out with you. You are here to help people awaken themselves and teach themselves how to do things. You're not supposed to be doing it for them. And that's what she told me, that's what it meant. And who knows, maybe they are telling me to save myself first, Hunter. I have no idea. But I saw both of those visions clear as day. And that's how they apparently told me how I got stuck here. That was their answer for telling me how I got here. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just not supposed to take on too much. Maybe I tried to take, it's like when you try and save some people, but then you try and save too many and then you get yourself stuck. I also asked about Earth. I asked, what Earth, to give me a deeper understanding of it. Because it's a long story. I was having deep conversations with myself in my head. And they showed me Earth is like quicksand. That was the vision they showed me. They said that Earth is basically, they showed quicksand, right? So when you try to stand in the quicksand and pull a friend out, you both go in. And that's the kind of vision. That's what I was kind of pulling myself out. Pulling from the dream anyway, trying to make sense of it from the vision. Jody says, I had a similar past with a helicopter pilot incident you just described. Couldn't save everyone. I was so upset too. When we crashed, I was crying. I was so upset. I was like, oh my God. But this is why I say, like, your mediumship does go through the roof with these psychedelics, but you got to be careful as to what happens, what you're able to handle or not. And whew, that was it was a lot. Ray says, use your judgment on who is an anchor and who is a sail in your life. That's a beautiful analogy. Thank you, Ray. So yeah, I am trying to kind of take the hint as to I'm sure that they had a message in that. I'm still, like I said, processing all of this. I've been thinking about it for 2 days straight, and I'm sure I haven't even processed 5% of what I experienced. Still unpacking this whole thing. I was told I was here to teach them to fly. See, exactly, Daniel. We just got to teach people how to swim and fly on their own. Shakti, if you don't have a a trip sitter, then ease yourself into it and don't take too much the first time. Oh, yes. Never take too much. Be very, 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 very careful about set and setting and dosage and all kinds of different things. I've been a psychonaut since I was 17, and so this is probably my 100th or so trip, maybe longer, and it still was really, really, really intense for me. So just like I said, very, very carefully, very slowly. I think you're right, Shelley, though. It's like you can't save everyone. We all just want to save everybody. If it was up to me, I would save this entire planet. I really would. I've always had that white knight syndrome where I'm kind of like trying to save everybody. And this is why I joined as a firefighter at 16. On my 16th birthday, they were like, what do you want to do for your birthday? I want to be a firefighter. Like all my friends were like, I want a car. I want a cell phone. I want this. I want that. No, I just want bells and whistles and to save lives and help people. And I loved every minute of it. I absolutely love being in the fire department. I'd probably join the fire department again if I had more time. Cricket says, I have a quiet mind and unable to visualize too. I feel left out. These things are, I could not visualize as a kid very well. This is something that, you can develop with practice. But even so, even if you can't visualize in your own mind, you can still speak things. You can still learn through all kinds of different experiences. And I wonder, have you tried hypnosis yet? It's a little harder sometimes, but I have met quite a few people that can't visualize, but they did succeed in going under hypnosis. Ray says, how much do you usually take, Laura? Well, funnily enough, this is something that none of you should do. Do not take my advice, okay? This is not advice. I'm just telling you what I do, okay? Don't do this at home. This is only something that I do, and I'm not recommending it for anyone else. This is kind of why I'm laughing about maybe I took a little much. I roll the dice, quite literally. I have D&D dice that I roll for different things, and I ask my guides, what is the right amount? What is the amount that I should take? And I roll a dice and it tells me. So that's why I say I don't recommend you guys doing what I do at all. Okay. But like I said, when you have tripped probably close to over 100 times, you just kind of been like, fuck it, why not, But it always seems to be the right amount. And if if it only comes out with a 1, I just take 1 gram. If it comes out 6, I take 6. And that's what happened this weekend. So, yeah, I also microdose too. So, yeah, I'm quite literally rolling with the punches. That's why I think I don't recommend you guys doing what I do. Okay. Much, much smarter to do it in smaller doses until you really know what you can handle. And what Seth says, for shrooms take less than a gram for your first time. I absolutely agree with that. 100%. Less is more when you're starting off. Trust me on that. Okay. But even so, I think microdosing is just as effective. If you, instead of taking, let's say, 5 grams over one night, you could spread that out over the course of 2 weeks and you're still getting that amount. So you just make it slower and more, over time. That is usually the more delicate, much smarter method, which is why I say don't do what I do. It's not the smart way of doing it, okay? This is just what people do after 20 years of toking and other things. Yeah, Jordan says, I've taken the heroic dose 5. Jeez, it's crazy. Not recommended for most. Nope. Not recommended at all for most people. Usually people take about 2 for a giggle. If they really want to have a laugh and experience something cool, usually it's about 2. But for me, since I microdose and since I have been using it for 20 years, it does tend to take me a bit more than most. So my tolerance is through the roof. But this is why I say, you never really know, because this was a new batch for me and these were stronger than I expected. So last time I took 6, it was not as strong as this. I can tell you that. Michelle says, Laura channeling Jerry Garcia. You're so funny. Damn, Steph, how strong were they? Steph said you thought he was going to die when he took 2. Holy cow. Jeez. I can only imagine how strong those must have been. They're different, though, depending on what kind they are, how well dried they are. I went to Amsterdam back before they took mushies off of the menu, I should say, because some not so smart person took a whole bunch of them and jumped in the canal and drowned. So they ended up taking them off of the menu for the rest of us. But I went there before then, and it was actually an amazing time. I think I told you guys about that once. There's been a few of those trips. Well, you used to buy them fresh. Like, they weren't even dried. They were like blue and gold colored, and they were really nice. But they weren't dried properly. They weren't the same as the ones you get here at home. So, One of the things we talked about during Chen's talk on Friday was psychedelics and whether or not they are a good thing. And it is just like everything. It can be good and bad, because some of my clients are people that have taken way, 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 way too much, and have, it's like Chen explained in the talk, that it's like losing the lid off of your canister. You know what I mean? It's like losing the jar of your lid. Sorry, the lid of your jar, and you just, anything that wants to come in can. You don't get to control as much afterward. So this is why I say, like, people that take really, really intense, large doses are just looking for trouble. And I'm not even talking about me, because 6 grams compared to those people, the people I'm talking about took 3 times what I took over this weekend. Okay. Never do that. All right. There's no way it's a good idea in any way, shape, or form. Always do things delicately and with a lot of research. And yes, Chen is pro-mushy. Chen told me on Friday, and told us on the chat, for those of you who want to listen to it again, you can go back on Astara and watch the chat. But Chen was talking about how they used to use cannabis and nettle together, which is cool. I didn't even know you could smoke nettle. Did anybody know that? But apparently that's what they used to do in ancient China, was they would mix cannabis with nettle and smoked that, rolled it up and smoked it, and used it in all kinds of poultices and whatever. So I found that was interesting. Not that I'm going to try it or anything, but nettle tea is interesting stuff. I've tried that. Do I like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds? Yes, of course I do. All psychonauts do. Just whether or not I trust the person that's making it is a whole nother story, which is why I haven't partaken in that in quite a while. I shrooned my way through all the lockdowns. COVID weekends were the best. I wish I still had that much time on my hands now. I feel you on that, Amma. DMT is my favorite, Kristen. Kristen, have you tried it before? DMT is the best. But this is something, for those of you who don't know, DMT is something that your brain secretes naturally. Every night when you go to sleep, your body secretes DMT. So, yeah, you do end up having those interesting experiences. I had a conversation with a tree once on DMT. I've told you guys the story before, but it was funny. I was sitting in a park in South Africa. It was like one of these really beautiful botanical gardens. and there was a willow tree, and I was smoking DMT with some friends next to it. And this was the time I looked over at my friend, and he actually transformed into a reptilian, but that's a whole nother story. He went off with Aiden's dad to go and hang out and have some fun and do something. I think they were fishing or something. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have another puff. So I did. And the next thing you know, I hear a voice behind me, and I'm like, huh? And I go to turn around, and it's the tree. It was a willow tree. And I had about a 10-minute conversation with this tree. And the long story, but the tree was like, Laura, you need to lay off the psychedelics. And I was like, what? Why? And they're like, you're not supposed to be having a spiritual experience every day. It told me that I was overdoing it. And I was like, screw you, tree. You don't know me. Remember, I was kind of rude to the tree. Like, what are you talking about, tree? Go away. Like, so, yeah, I've done that too. So now I've told everybody, like, when I die someday, I want to turn into a willow tree. Somebody can plant me under a willow. I would love that. Then my friends can come and talk to me while they're puffing. Old habits die hard, like I said. I have no shame in admitting any of these things. Like I said, I love psychedelics. I have since I was 17. So, but like I said, you do have to do them smart. Don't do stupid shit, and you should be fine. So, oh, Aaron, you're funny. What about salvia? Salvia divinorum. The fact that salvia is even legal still astounds me to this day. Because salvia is probably one of the most intense things I've ever taken. In fact, my friend pulled a stunt once. I was playing Gears of War on the Xbox, right? And I'm just hanging out with some friends. My friend comes in and he hands me the bong. And he's like, oh, I've got this really good stuff. You got to try it. And I was like, okay. And I go and I light it. And he's like, you just hit it. I don't have much. You just make sure you hit it really hard. And I was like, okay. I didn't think anything of it. Before I could say the words, that doesn't taste like any weed I've ever smoked before. Before I even was able to form those words into a sentence, I was already tripping. That's how fast salvia will kick in. Literally. And it was like I had tunnel vision. Like everything, like you could see everything around you, right? But then the blinders come on and then you literally, and then I could see through this. Like that's all I could see. And I was just freaking out. It scared the shit out of me. Salvia is really, really intense. I don't know how salvia is even legal. I really don't. It's honestly just as intense as LSD sometimes. No, Michelle, I'm talking about the extract more than anything else. That's what he gave me. He gave me salvia. I think it was 30x. So the salvia divinorum is an actual plant that you can use that will actually cause you to trip. But if you take the extract of it, it is 30 times stronger, and that's what happened to me. And like I said, it was insane. I still can't believe that stuff is legal. My first husband, he tried smoking it, right? And he basically was hanging out with us, and he puffed it, and then he looks over at the lamp, and then he's staring at the lamp, and then he goes like this, and I was like, what happened? What happened? And he starts looking around, and he goes, am I back? Am I back? And I was like, what do you mean, are you back? And he's like, I just got sucked into the wall. I was like, you got sucked into the wall? He's like, yeah, there were creatures in the wall. And they weren't happy about me getting into the wall. They told me, you're not supposed to be here. And then they punched me, and I punched back through the wall. And the next thing you know, I'm flying through the wall. I was like, okay. So he had a conversation with the wall people on salvia. So, yeah, it's like I said, that only lasts 10 minutes, but it is a hell of a 10-minute trip. Having conversations with the wall people. Jody says, I had the most incredible natural experience with a tree about 3 weeks ago. I was walking away, and this particular tree called me to it. Tons of light codes and high frequency energy, and we were both talking light language with each other. It felt so good, I didn't care who was watching. That's amazing, Jody. That is so cool. Love that. Yeah, anybody that tunes in, because trees are very communicative, you guys. They really are. Like, this is why tree hugging is a thing. You can actually communicate with trees. This is what so many people actually do while they're tripping, funnily enough. uh, do you guys ever hear this story about Paul Stamets? It's one of my favorite psychedelic stories. So, Paul Stamets, you guys know the mushroom guy, right? Paul was born with a really bad lisp. Like, he had a stutter, and couldn't really speak very clearly, couldn't formulate a sentence properly. But Paul really loved psychedelics, and when he was a teenager, and he started experimenting with them, and he took a quite a high dose of of mushies one day, and Paul decided to go for a walk, and he was walking through some big field, and he was already starting to trip a little bit, and he saw this big pine tree, and he thought, "Oh, I'm going to climb this." He felt like climbing it, so he did. He started climbing and climbing and climbing until he gets to the top of the tree, of this really tall pine tree. And then he's looking out on the horizon, and he sees all these clouds rolling in, and he got fascinated by these clouds, and he's just tripping in the tree watching these beautiful clouds come rolling in. So Paul was watching these clouds come in, and when he realized it was actually thunder clouds, that it was a thunderstorm that was coming in rather quickly. And he realized he didn't have enough time to get down from the tree before it was going to start raining. So he decided, well, I'm just going to stay at the top of this tree and cling for dear life. So he did while he was still tripping. And so he was getting thrashed around in this storm and everything, but luckily he survived. Like I said, we don't do the smartest things when we're tripping sometimes. And so by the time Paul climbed down, he was all right and everything. He started walking home. Well, he runs into a girl that he saw from school that he had a big crush on. And so he normally would not say anything because he was so nervous about his stutter. But as she was passing him, she said hello, and asked him a question like, "Hey, Paul, how are you today?" And he says, "Oh, I'm fine. How are you?" with no stutter. And he was like, "What?" Like, really surprised that he didn't have the problem. So he goes and continues on with his day. And sure enough, his stutter was completely gone. His lisp, whatever you want to call it, his inability to communicate properly completely went away during the psychedelic trip. And he believes that he basically created new brain pathways through this trip, through whether or not it was the electrical impulses that are going around, whether or not it was just the large dose that he took, whether or not it was a combination of whatever he had experienced. But either way, his lisp was gone for the rest of his life. And so this is one of the things that made Paul Stamets such a wide have such wide interests in mushrooms, because it has so many different uses, and PTSD, thank you, Ray, is one of the best uses for it, because there are so many people that have PTSD through events that have happened in the military, or just as something traumatic that happened to them in childhood, or a traumatic event that happened later on in life, or even just when it comes to having some kind of a past life trauma, because sometimes people end up having memories from past lives without even realizing it. I'm thinking about that poor kid that remembered dying on the Titanic and how traumatized he was. People who are also dealing with really bad addictions, people who have been dealing with addictions for many years, have actually had success in treating these addictions with mushrooms. So they have many, many, many uses that go far beyond recreational use. So that's why I say, like, there's always a rhyme and a reason. You can use them for all kinds of different reasons. You just need to know what you're doing and how to do it properly. Because, like I said, any medicine can be abused, unfortunately. And so you do have to be smart about it. And that's why I do take it for microdosing. I'm using it for consciousness expansion and always have. I don't really have as much healing work that I feel that needs to be done with it, because I feel that for me, the healing work does through introspection and through just through good old fashioned shadow work. And I feel that actually is more effective sometimes. But for those of you who are unable to do that, sometimes it works better for you to try ayahuasca and mushrooms and other things like that. So trial and error is really the best way of going about it, to see which methods work for you, because maybe they will work for you and maybe they won't. So you never know. But there is a reason that so many people have had success from it. And I do believe that it basically ends up helping your brain kind of find equilibrium within itself. Because of all the things that we take all the time, all the pills and the chemicals and all the shit that's around us all the time, our bodies are constantly being bombarded by all of these different things that are putting us out of whack. So, it's like when you get a chance, an opportunity to put yourself back into equilibrium, sometimes this is one of the ways that you can be effective. Daniel says, having a guide with you the first few times will help. Yes, absolutely. You should have a guide with you, especially if you've never tried it before. You need to have a sober person with you that'll keep an eye on things and just help you go through it. We call them trip sitters. I've done trip sitting countless times for friends. If somebody, and never have somebody that's mean, somebody that you don't trust, somebody you have to trust with them 100%. It's not somebody that's going to mess with you, somebody that's going to, mess with you for their own amusement and shit. Never. It has to be somebody that would never fuck with you for fun. So even if you have somebody that's your best friend, if your best friend likes to play pranks on you and mess with you, that is not the person you want to trip with. Trust me. Okay? Because they can do more damage. They're supposed to be loving and helpful, because you never know what kind of experience you're going to have. Sometimes people laugh their butts off and have a wonderful experience. Some other people freak out. So that's why it's always nice to be kind. Steph says, I always mess with my friends. That doesn't surprise me, Steph. But this is why, sometimes it does. In my experience, I have better times by myself. To be honest, other people have always kind of messed with me during my trips. Although I must admit, the coolest place I've ever tripped. It was like visiting another planet, a golf course. I'm telling you now, when I worked at the golf course, I lived not far from it, and we all just invaded the golf course at like 1:00 in the morning while tripping. That was one of the most fun trips I've ever had. I must say. Not that I'm telling you guys to do public. I'm just saying in general, that was so much fun. Just saying it. It was literally like visiting another planet. I'm just reading through some of the comments. You guys have had some fun, I can tell. Ray says, I did a lot of research first, but I didn't know where to get them. I prayed to them. I was at the barbershop and Spirit said, ask that guy in the chair. I waited outside for him, and sure enough, he got me some, and I never saw him again. That was a divine appointment there, Ray. Daniel Jackson, airplane runway for me. Are you serious? That's hilarious. I can only imagine. I tripped at Disneyland in high school. I don't recommend it. I can only imagine how that went down, Aaron. So yeah, like I said, I was just having a fun weekend. I thought I would mention it because, it's just one of those things. You guys, we all have different things that we enjoy. And this is one of the things that I enjoy. I just like plants. Maybe that's dating back to my times in Lemuria where I was using all those plants, growing those giant basketball-sized apples. Gail, nice to see you, love. Gail says the war on drugs stopped all psychedelic experiments and studies using psychedelics. Unfortunately, science has been making great strides treating depression and other mental illnesses. You guys should know, back in the 60s, actually the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and even into the 80s, the CIA and the FBI were using psychedelics as a weapon. Just so you know, some of the things that they would do, like they would go to places, like, for example, in the 70s, this was actually well documented, right? This is from Freedom of Information requests that we've actually gotten filed later on, like 30 years later. But what they were doing was they were going to areas where they knew there was a lot of prostitution, for example, and they were literally dosing Johns on purpose just to see what would happen. Like they were literally going into places like in Vegas, for example, and they were literally spiking people's water or whatever it was, so that way they could get just to see what would happen. And I'm pretty sure they dosed a whole town once. Do you guys know about that experience where the whole town started tripping and went crazy? Pretty sure that was an experiment too. I was driving home with my boyfriend and I stopped in the road. He asked me, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm letting the gnomes cross the road." Nice one, Courtney. That's one way to get people looking at you funny, though. Oh, yeah. There's all kinds of stuff in the water, especially if you're in a city. For example, Gail says antidepressants in the water. Well, actually, if you're in New York City, for example, they said the average glass of water has been drank 10 times before you pour it. And they do clean a lot of stuff out of the water, but I've read that they can't actually clean many of the pharmaceuticals out of the water. So people are drinking like heart medication and stuff. All kinds of things are actually in the water that they are not cleaning out. City water, I should say, in many cases. So they were just reading through the comments. So, do you guys have any questions since I'm just been sitting here rambling for 45 minutes? Just chit chatting. I'm gonna go for a float today. I'm gonna go and have a float. Have you ever had a float? It's going for one of those sensory deprivation tanks full of salt water. Anybody ever try one of those? I have one not far from here. It's an amazing experience. That'll make you feel like you're tripping too when you're not, when you're sober. When you go into one of those sensory tanks. Oh man, it's so nice. It's the best place to meditate. If you guys haven't tried it before, you should Google around and see if you've got a float place near. Catherine says, how long is the wait for a session for you approximately? For a clearing? I think the wait is about 4 weeks right now, give or take. So at least it's nowhere near as long as Jono and Andy. It's about 4 weeks, give or take. Maybe 5 weeks, depending. I've been doing clearings almost every weekday. On the weekends, I don't get a chance to do them as much because we all have family stuff. Yes, I do emergency clearings. Ariana says, Laura, does your stomach not feel weird with psychedelics? I feel sick always. Whenever you feel nauseous like that, whenever you're feeling, this is something that took me quite a while to figure out, right? Is that nausea feeling that you're getting in your stomach is actually it's a change in vibrational frequency. So whenever you're going up in vibration really quickly, you're going to feel nauseous. Whenever you're up in vibration and then your vibration plummets really quickly, you're going to feel nauseous. So one of the things about psychedelics is that you actually are going like this with your vibration. It's one of the things that makes it a little risky sometimes, is because, and this is why we pick up stuff, because if your vibration is down, you can pick up an attachment from something that may be in the vicinity. So that's why one of the things that I always do is I do a full clearing on my entire house. I basically went through an entire smudge stick this weekend. I went through every inch of my house before then. I smudged all my closets, my cupboards, my basement, my attic, everything got smudged before I even thought about taking it. And then I put all kinds of protections up. I put, I've got selenite over all the doors, and I do a full cleansing of my entire house before then. So I've never really had a problem with any of that. That's something that you guys should definitely do, is also cleanse your house. Gail wants to know if I've watched any Cosmic Agency. We were talking about Cosmic Agency at the very beginning of this chat today, talking about some of the new videos they've put out. They talked about the Engen today, which is who the Greek, Roman, and Nordic gods were based on, which is really funny because those were always my favorite. The Egyptian, the Greek, and the Nordic gods were always my favorite. And sure enough, they're all the same fucking people. Really, they're just the same people with different names. Ironically, they just decided to move and change their name. Like they're in the witness protection, you know? It's like, well, we made a hell of a mess in Greece and now everything's going to shit. Let's go to Rome now, you know? And like, oh, okay, well, we made Italy all kind of crazy. Let's go up to, you know, let's go fight some frost giants. So yeah, they just bounced around. It's the same deities. Just scrolling back up so I missed some stuff. Yes, always. I meditate with them first, cleanse my home with a singing bowl, and then set my crystals and organite everywhere. Listen to high vibe binaural beats and write a list of affirmations and gratitude. That's very similar to what I do as well, Jordan. Nice one. If they have you sign paperwork explaining their fees, you'll be charged if the water is not yet clean when you are finished. You know you found a good place. I didn't know that, Shelley. Good to know. I always feel great, so it makes me not want to trip because of how my stomach feels. You know, this is why I say, if you microdose, it probably would make it easier for you because that way you're also building up your vibration. But then again, not everybody, you know, is meant for these things. To each their own, you know. Some people really, really enjoy them and are, you know, just, it's like, I don't know, maybe it's because I have past history. I know that I was interested in these plant medicines back in excuse me, in other lifetimes. So perhaps it's like not just this lifetime where we like these things. Perhaps that's why we have an interest in these things. I find the shadow is fascinated by my appearance when I go there, and I heal primarily when I am there, those whom around me as I am able. The reason I like psychedelics is it makes my abilities go through the roof. I'm a full-blown medium while I'm tripping. I know for a fact I am. I can hear things clear as day. I can pick up things. I can download things. Like I said, all I did was set the intention to find out more about Atlantis. And then I just started downloading all this crazy shit. It's the choice in what I downloaded I need to work on. That's the frustrating thing about it. It's like this is one of the reasons why I like them so much, is because so yeah. It's like the next day when my gifts are gone and I'm like, damn it. So I do, and that's why I microdose as well. And I do think it's actually helping. I really do feel like it is. Like it's like it's dialing up your frequency, you know, but you have to do it very, very delicately. Because otherwise it's like what Chen said, you know, when you get people that are taking a massive, massive dose, like, you know, an entire ounce in one sitting. One of my friends did that once. I watched him do it. The best friend that I told you guys about, the one that likes to poke me in the eye, he's probably listening to this conversation right now. He ended up taking 28 grams in one sitting once when we were in our early 20s. And you should have seen him. He keeled over like a tree that had been chopped down. He was mid-conversation with me, like this close to my face. All of a sudden, poof, like a tree. And he was a speed bump for the rest of the night. He did not move. We were all like, is he breathing? Yeah, he's breathing. Oh, he's fine then. And sure enough, he was fine the next day. I asked him, I was like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I had some really intense dreams. And I was like, wow. Okay, I bet you did. So he is so lucky, and who knows, maybe this was part of the contributing factor in some of his mental health stuff that started later on, and as to why he ended up taking his own life a few years later. But this is why I say you guys gotta be really careful with this shit. You don't want to overdo it like his lovable dumbass did. Some people, they just don't know their limits and just are like, have you heard of Babak Lindy? He would take 20 to 40. Now that's what I'm talking about. That's insane. That's just Ray. That's just not. That's just wild. That's quite literally blowing the lid off your volcano, if you know what I mean. You can't put the cap back on after that. Courtney says, it cracks me up when you talk about getting poked in the eye. Sounds like a character. Not fun for you, but funny. It is fun for me, because now I know when he's messing with me. I know it's him. But this is what I say, he back in the day, people, we do, especially in our 20s, we do a lot of dumb shit, and we don't really think about the repercussions from that dumb shit. And especially when we're just like, fuck it, let's see what happens. So, this is the thing. You have to be smart about psychedelics, or they will kick your ass. And they kicked his big time. He's probably listening now that I'm talking about him. Hi, V, love you. But this is like I said, you really do need to learn your limits and do it very delicately, and don't do any of the things that I've recommended. That's right, that I talked about what I do today. So any other questions before I run off? I got 5 minutes, and then I'm going to go and get ready for my float. I'm going to go and hang out in that sensory deprivation tank today. See if I can make sense of some of those downloads that I got over the weekend. You really do, Ray. You have to respect everything. Right? Because you have to respect psychedelics. You need to respect everything. All plant medicine. One way or another. It all deserves respect. Thank you, Daniela. I love you. Daniela, you're the best. So helpful. Monday in a Star, Living Spirituality from 7:30 p.m. EST. A Zoom Q&A in the Astar membership, how to apply spiritual principles to your Earth School curriculum in a practical and effective way with Daniela. That sounds lovely. Thank you, Daniela. Appreciate you. Margarita says, can OCD in children be an attachment? Children are not as common picking up attachments because they have a naturally high vibration. It is possible. It entirely depends on what they've gone through. And I'm not just talking about in this lifetime, multiple lifetimes, these things can be a factor. So it depends. If this person has been through a trauma, if this person has been through something that has lowered their vibration and caused them to be in a fearful, low vibe state, then yeah, absolutely, they could have picked up an attachment. But whether or not OCD is caused by an attachment is entirely down to what is causing it for me, because for them, because it could be a lot of different factors. Sometimes OCD comes from earthbounds. It can come from trauma. It can come from even just personalities from a past life, because we are not born with a clean slate, if you know what I mean. We come in with past life stuff. Most of us are carrying past life baggage. So it's far more likely that it would be past life trauma, but it is still possible that it could be an attachment. So you never know. This is why the detailed clearings are so helpful, because we can ask the soul guides this as well. We can quite literally just ask them, okay, so is this behavior linked to the trauma in this life or another life or anything like that? Does Cosmic Agency have any info about the avians? Not the blue avians. To be honest, I have not actually searched that. Let's find out. I'm literally on swadu.com anyway. Hold on, or .org. So if you go to swadu.org and then you type in the word avian, for example, there are 7 different videos about them. Oh, but some of these are about the avian flu too. No, they don't seem to be talking much about them. If you want to know about the avians, Rachel Chamness is the one to ask. I'll have Rachel back sometime when we can ask her. Rachel even channels the avians. They're very, very high vibrational ET race of bird-like beings. Yeah, exactly. Rachel Chamness is your cheeks, Chantal. Did Daniela post a link to the personality test the Enneagram test? I believe she did. If you're still looking for it, Andy, I can definitely ask her to post it again. And yeah, next time I have Rachel back, I'll ask her. Someone I just came across told me she is a what? Who are we talking about, Shakti? Weren't the avians the first species before Pleiadians? Pleiadians are from the Lyrans. Their Lyrans were here first. They're keep in mind, right? Everybody wants to know where their genes are from, where their human genetics are from. There are over 400,000 humanoid civilizations out there now. And they all started from one civilization. That's the Lyran civilization that started in Vega. So if you guys remember, well, Stargate, you ever watch Stargate, where they talk about how, or I don't think this is even in Star Trek too, where they talk about how humans spread across the cosmos being chased by beasties? Well, that's all true. We were basically refugees. We started off on one planet and then we spread across the entire cosmos because we were under attack. So, in many cases, the whole reason that there are planets that are completely inhabited by humans is the fact that we were chased around the whole universe by reptilians and other negative beings. They were using us as food, unfortunately. Yes, as Michelle mentioned, that's what we call the Great Expansion. So, I talk about the Pleiadians. The Pleiadians are a very large group of ETs, for example. Like there are countless, thousands and thousands of different types of Pleiadian races, and that's just one star system. That's not even including the entire cosmos where they live. So we're all over the place. Humans are absolutely everywhere. Sorry to hear that, Shakti. There's a lot of people that have been, going through some really heavy shit the last few years because of all these. There's a lot of things that are kind of culminating right now. This is why Dolores talked about it being the most exciting time to be alive, is because this is the first time, and I think probably close to 13,000 years, that we've had so much ET drama going on. It's the best way to put it. I mean, yeah, we've had ETs here for a long time. If you look at, we were just talking about the Greek gods and how they are actually from the Pleiades, from the Electra star system and Engen. They call them the Engen race, but there's a whole lot of different ones, like I said. So humans are from all over the place. The avians are probably a much older race. I imagine they're probably just as old as the Lyrans, if not older. Reptilians are far older than we are, which is one of the reasons why they are as advanced as we are. Or sorry, as they are. It's like the older their race, the more powerful they tend to be because of all the technology they've managed to accumulate in that time. I don't know, Chantal. I can see it. I can see your comments. Maybe Facebook is just glitching. Rose is from Andromeda. That's cool, Rose. There's a lot of Andromedans here. The Andromedans, have you seen the blue people in Hindu mythology? It's not mythology, actually. It's all based in truth, but I should say legends. Those are all Andromeda. I shouldn't say all Andromedans. Many of them were a mixed. There's a lot of Andromedans and Arcturians. There's a lot of just different races here as starseeds right now in general. Good morning, Lori. Nice to see you, love. Keep in mind that most of us are not just from one race, that many of us have had incarnations across the cosmos for a very, very long time. We've had multiple incarnations all over the place. Yeah, we've been stuck on Earth for quite a while too, probably because of all the drama and craziness that have happened here. But there's still a lot of history we've had on other planets, and that many of us still remember. And funnily enough, some of you aren't even here right now, actually. Some of you think you're here, but you're not. If you're an Arcturian, for example, almost guarantee you're not here on Earth right now. That your other body is technically up there somewhere. Most Arcturians do not come here as what do you call them? As a terrestrial being. They're here in immersion pods. So their true physical form is billions of light years away, which must be nice. None of you guys, all you pod people, get to wake up in your pods when you die. You're not going to have to worry about the whole reincarnation cycle of Earth thing, which must be nice. So that way, you guys will wake up and be like, was that just a dream? Like the Rick and Morty episode, like when they're in the arcade. It's gonna be like that. You can be like, where's all my human friends? And they'll be like, oh, they're just billions of light years away. No, I'm not, Steph. I asked my soul guides the other day during a clearing if I'm in a pod, and they said I'm not. I had that bubble burst. But it was really funny because I was like, one of my clients was in a pod the other day. She might even be watching right now. Hello, love, if you're watching. And so I validated for her that she was indeed in a pod. So I was like, oh, does that mean, am I in a pod? And Nim was like, no, you're not in a pod. He said, you came in here the old-fashioned way. And I was like, damn. And they're like, but Aiden is. I was like, oh, Aiden's in a pod? So yeah, my baby's in a pod, but I'm not, apparently. I asked about that, by the way. That was one of the things I asked during my trip over the weekend. I was told that, but not everybody is right. Aiden's a Pleiadian like me. Aiden is in a pod as well. He's in a Tegetan pod. There are 2,000 just on the Teleka alone, right? The Teleka is the Tegetan ship that's in high orbit right now. They've said they have 2,000 women and 500 men that are in pods as we speak. And those are just the ones on the Teleka. That's not including all the others that are on these other pods and these other ships. So who knows? I did ask why Aiden's in a pod, and apparently he's here to help get me out of here. So that was nice of him. That's what they said. He's here to help get me off the planet if I want to be. He's my ticket out of here if I wish afterward, at the end of all this craziness. I'm not sure how that's going to work. They didn't give me detail on that. But he's here to bring me home to Era if I want to go home. I found that out over the weekend, and it made me cry like a little baby. I wasn't going to mention that, but since we're talking about it anyway, may as well. And yeah, Shakti, that is his birthday. My little pod baby. I told him this, by the way. I asked the guides, I was like, should I even tell Aiden this? And they're like, yeah, I'll probably appreciate it. So I told him, and Aiden's like, oh, cool. He's just like, hey, cool. And he was asking me some questions about it, and I told him, and I showed him what they look like through the Cosmic Agency video, and he's like, wow. He's like, I'm in a tank right now. That's awesome. I was like, well. And I wasn't sure if I should tell him, but then when the guys were like, yeah, I'd probably really like to know. So I told him, and then he did want to know. He was like, this is really cool, Mommy. And he's asking all sorts of questions. But this makes a lot of sense, honestly, considering how unique he is. You should hear, one of these days I'll have him come on and talk about other dimensions and stuff, and you'll see what I mean. He has the most interesting questions and insight about other dimensions and realities. I have talked to him about that, Chantal. I have told him, like, to kind of keep these things, like, between him and me. Like, if you want to talk about it with your friends, you can, but this is more for just conversations between you and Mommy. And he's like, okay, that's fine. He knows that there are different things you're supposed to learn. I told him, I was like, you're going to have to learn the mainstream and the truth. You're going to have to learn both. And you're going to have to decide who you're going to give the answers to, whether or not you're going to give the mainstream answer like you would to your teacher, or if you give another answer like to somebody like me. So he's learning that there's a delicate balance, and there's a time for talking about these things and a time for not talking about these things, as I'm sure all of you are also figuring out. This is something that I've been practicing for a long time because I lack a filter in these things sometimes. I don't give a shit. I'll talk about reptilians to anybody, but it's easy for me because I've seen one. Like, I know what they look like. I've seen one. and I know they're real. Whereas other people, they probably think I'm batshit crazy, and I just don't care. That's why I have no qualms about talking about these things. So yeah, there is a time for everything. But I do believe that he wouldn't have chosen me as his mom if I wasn't supposed to talk about these things. So, he could have chosen one of the other people out here. So obviously, if he chose me to be his mom, it's not something that I'm supposed to be keeping my mouth shut about. Michelle says, I don't care anymore if somebody thinks I'm batshit crazy. Same here. Cheers to that, Michelle. Really, I just don't care. I really don't. Give it some time, and we're going to be the ones that are coming to for answers, because all this shit's getting weirder and weirder by the day. They're going to need us to explain all this shit for them at some point. But man, I wish somebody had actually done this for me as a kid. Because when I was growing up and I could see ghosts and shit, I got gaslighted like crazy. Nobody believed me. And everyone's talking about ghosts. I mean, ghosts are not something, it's not as taboo as aliens, in my opinion. If a kid says I see a ghost, it's surprising that people weren't more believing about that. Nobody believed me as a kid when I saw ghosts. Nobody. I didn't have anybody to talk to about that. Nobody. So unfortunately, I had my gifts were kind of turned off because I was so freaked out, and I didn't get to actually embrace my gifts until really now. I'm almost 40 now. I'm going to be turning 39 in 2 or 3 weeks, and it's like I'm just starting to do the things that I wish I had done when I was 10, But better late than never. I had 30 years is fine to wait, I guess. Oh, I love you, Gail. I've known Gail since I was born. I didn't know you were this cool, Gail. That's the problem. You didn't tell me. Daniel says, I've always been here. I was born this way. Daniel was born awesome. Doesn't surprise me. I always loved using this line with my mom when she would say, be careful with the crazy people. I am the crazy people. Oh, you guys are so funny. So any other questions before I run off from my float? Anything else you guys want to ask about or know about today? Who's going to be coming on tomorrow? I completely forgot. I have to check my schedule. I've mainly just been focusing on gardening and clearings. That has been my one track mind recently. Gardening and clearings. Oh, it's my mom's birthday tomorrow. We're talking about birthdays. I completely forgot. I got my mom some organite. It's for her birthday. Let's see. Oh, Ron and Michael will be on tomorrow. Yay! Cool. So we get to chat with Ron and Michael tomorrow. That'll be fun. And then on Wednesday, we've got our wonderful friend Tara and Daniela are coming on, and then Tracy. And then I'm going to have, I believe, Tia is going to be on Friday. I'm trying to keep Mondays solo so I can chat with you guys about what was going on over the weekend. Angie says, I want to garden. Come on over, Angie. Let's garden. I wish we could have garden parties and just hang out and talk about spiritual stuff while we grow nice green things. Wouldn't that be nice? Anybody in Pennsylvania, you can come on over. Daniel says, I'll be 60 June 9th. All of you are invited to the river if you want, and I'll have a huge cabin. Daniel, you do not have to ask me twice. I'm there, bud. I would love that. That would be awesome. Aaron says, I'll be 40 June 1st. Cool. So many wonderful birthdays coming up. I'm going to be enjoying. So I turned 39 in a couple weeks, so I am going to be enjoying the hell out of my last year in my 30s. Let me tell you. Even though I do feel like I'm 25 most of the time. I don't feel like I'm even 30 yet. Age is nothing but a number. We totally need to have some retreats where we're just hanging out together. We should all just look for some houses that we could rent out, and then we'll just split it. And then we can all just hang out. That would be so much fun. We could just go camping together. Yeah. Daniel says, I have 2 acres clear. Let's build a retreat. Fuck yeah, Daniel. Let's do it. Where are you located anyway? Where are all you guys located? I'm in Central PA. Christina's going to be 39 too. That's awesome. High five. 39 Club. Gail does have a great house for a retreat. This is what I mean. We should all just start making new plans for these retreats. Speaking of retreats, I'm very excited about Colorado in a few weeks. I get to hang out with a couple of you in a few weeks. That'll be awesome. You want to be in Colorado May 13th, and then I'm going to be coming to London. So if you guys are near Colorado, you can come hang out. If you guys are near London in the last weekend of May, I believe it is, May 26th, something like that, we're going to be hanging out. Nice. We are so spread out, you guys. We're like spread out in a grid. It's so funny. Hi, Shakti. Yeah, well, I'm going to be in London for the event. There's a big event with Jono and Andy and Katie are putting on. That is going to be May 24th through the 27th. So I'm actually going to be off my normal podcast schedule for 2 weeks. I'm going to be doing pop-up podcasts. Daniela is going to be coming on the normal time for me. And then I'm going to be popping on random times just to say hi and see you guys. I just can't guarantee I'm going to be able to do them every day or what time I'll be able to do them. So they're going to be pop-up ones like I did when I was in Scotland. Wonderful, Ria. You should totally come and see us in London. It's going to be for the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival that's in the London Olympia. So check it out. It's like a 4-day metaphysical fair that we'll be attending. So for those of you who want to come and hang out with Jono and Andy and Katie and Elise and a few other people, that would be great. You guys should come see us in London. And we are going to plan a retreat here in the States where we bring Jono and Andy here as well at some point. We're still working on that, though. Their class is going to be on the 13th of May. I'm not going to be attending their classes because I have the event in Colorado that I'm going to be going to. So I'll see some of you in Colorado, though. That'll be amazing. Wonderful, Ria. That'll be great. Oh, Rose. Rose says, I met Jono and Andy and Jane and Louise and Katie yesterday. You went to the event, did you? Wonderful, Rose. You were in the room during the psychic surgery then. What did you think of that experience, being in the room while Chen was doing his psychic surgery? You can kind of feel like the electricity in the air when they were doing it during class. It felt amazing. Just being in the room while he's doing the healing, you get healing. Like, it's crazy. Love it. Hubby is building you a treehouse, Christina. That's awesome. Oh, okay. I remember now. I wasn't sure who I was talking to. It was kind of hard to hear. It was lovely to see you, Rose. And yeah, I imagine it was. Did you guys all feel that? For those of you who feel like you might need a healing, make sure that you go back and watch the recording today, okay? Because there are an amazing bunch of healing that can come through, even just in the recording. You can get a clearing and all of that stuff too. So if you feel like you might have an attachment and you just want to get rid of it, you can watch the clearing today and they will clear it for you. So I am going to run off, though, because I've been chatting for quite a while here. I was going to keep it to an hour, but I've been chatting even longer. I could feel the anesthesia in my spin on the recording. That's wonderful, Lisa. It really does work, you guys, even after the recording. So make sure. And thank you for pointing that out, Amma. It was nice of you to leave your feedback in the back there on the post. I also, if you guys want, I have two that are also pinned to the top of my Facebook page. That's why they're pinned. So I do have the Gosha talk up there, but if you look, I have a Siddhartha one and I have a Chen talk that are also pinned to the top of my Facebook page. Both of those are also clearings as well. That's why I have them pinned. So anytime that you guys are not feeling right and you just want to, you don't even want to know what's attached to you, you just want to get rid of it, watch those recordings and they will come in and clear you while you're watching. Okay. Because the soul guides know when you're tuning into those frequencies, when you're literally asking to be healed by watching them. Okay. So you're giving your consent and you are also showing your interest, and they will, your guides will know that you want that clearing and they'll come in and do it for you. Okay. But otherwise, if you want to know what's attached to you and go through it and get a whole report, you can always just message me and then we can book a clearing for you. Thank you, Sabrina. That last Zoom on Mighty Network was badass. Thank you. I appreciate that. Daniel says, I love you, Laura. Thank you for your unspoken work. I know you've been working on me. Thank you. Thank you. I feel much better. I also know it was scary. Thank you. You're most welcome, Daniel. I just love you guys, and this is one of the reasons why I just want to make sure that you guys are getting everything you need. So that's why we're here every day, paying it forward as much as we can. So, and if I've helped you, then just pay it forward for somebody else, and we're good. I love you guys. I'm going to go and get ready for my float. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on tomorrow morning with Ron and Michael. I will speak to you guys soon. Have a good one. Love you all. Bye.